Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ignite Men's Battle Cry podcast. Joining us today is world-renowned motivational speaker Inky Johnson. Inky is a former college football star that played cornerback for the University of Tennessee. His football career ended though due to a tragic injury that permanently paralyzed his right arm. With the heart of a champion and the power of perspective, Inky was able to overcome this adversity and make it a blessing. He has a massive platform now and has spoken to and worked with millions of people around the world. I know he's personally impacted my life. I'll never forget when I first discovered who Inky Johnson was. I was weightlifting and listening to his story and thought, man, this guy is something special. I was so motivated by his story, and it fired me up so much that during my time with the Liberty University baseball team, every morning before our 6 a.m. weightlifting sessions, I listened to Inky's story on repeat. His story motivated me like no other, so I personally cannot thank Inky enough for standing back up after life knocked him down. So without further ado, Inky, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Man, it's a true honor to be on. Thanks for the opportunity. As you know, man, I got a lot of respect for you and your family, and you're a friend of mine, so thanks so much for the opportunity.
Man, this is awesome. Ink, first off, how are you doing, man? How's it been trying to stay connected, during the pandemic and everything that's going on?
Man, it's been great, but interesting at the same time because, you got the side of it to where I'm enjoying the time with my family, enjoying connecting with my friends, but also you have the opposite side of it to where people are being affected, right, in terrible ways. You got the unemployment rate up, over 40 million people, I'm sorry about that. And you got a lot of people that's just being affected, man. And so my heart goes out to it. But at the same time, I'm enjoying the family time, enjoying my kids, enjoying my wife, and,
absolutely,
finding perspective in it.
That's awesome, Inky. Inky, as you know, we're in a real crisis in our country. It's honestly a tragedy that we have to even address issues such as racism, violence, injustice, and more. But we do.
Absolutely.
I know, men like me and you, we're praying that we can come and reason together and work toward a significant reform as we look ahead.
Absolutely. It's interesting. A clip got sent to me yesterday, man. A cop, he was standing in a group of people at a protest, and I never would have imagined one of my speeches, he would have used it at such a time as this. And the speech that he used was when I was talking about me being on an airplane for the first time and how I saw this sign on the sink and it said, as a common courtesy to the person that's coming behind you, can you wipe the sink out and leave it better than you found it? And he referred to that and said, as common courtesy to the ones that came before me, I'm going to do my best to leave this community better than I found it, right? And when you look at what's going on in the world, right, you can get stuck on the media's portrayal of negativity, violence, danger. But when you look at the other side of it, man, it's a lot of beautiful people.
There are.
Right? You saw people in the park praying together. Right? You saw sheriffs marching in the middle of protests. Right? And so it's all about the perspective you take with this, but also understanding what we're facing with the crisis and also being a part of the solution is very important.
Absolutely. Definitely being a part of the solution. I love that, though. All about perspective.
Absolutely.
Man, I telling you what, I was telling my family the other day, I fangirl over Inky Johnson. So I was looking forward to this interview. I had so many questions to ask you, man. Starting out, I've listened to your story so much, like I stated, in the intro, every day on the way to my 6 a.m. lifts. It was evident that you grew up in a unique childhood setting. So what was it that, you always talk about you wanted to change the norm or the culture, like you just said. You wanted to leave it better than you found it. Help us understand how that was like growing up for you.
Absolutely. So the thing that impacted me the most, I had a lot of great people, man, that helped me. And I knew they didn't have to, right? Like I was coming up in this 2-bedroom home with 14 people, born to a mother at 16 years old on the east side of Atlanta. And I just wanted my family to have a better living condition. But at the time, I couldn't play organized sports because my mother didn't have the money. And we used to play tackle football in the street. And a coach came down the street in a blue pickup truck, right? First white guy I ever met in my life, signed me and my cousins up to play football. And in my family, the people that ended up going to college and changing the trajectory of our family's life and breaking that generational curse was me and my 3 younger cousins that he signed up in that street that day. And I still have a relationship with him until this day. He impacted my life that much. And so I've been driven by that my whole life to repay the people that helped me and saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself.
Inky, I think that is such a powerful story for, like you said, such a time as this in itself. Man,
Absolutely.
you then became a premier star college football player, playing cornerback at the University of Tennessee, and life kind of gave you a big hit. So what was it, Ink, that you're able to overcome the adversity that you faced? How were you able to do it?
Man, I'm going to be honest with you, Zach. When my injury happened, September 9th, 2006, when it happened and I was in the midst of it, the only thing I was thinking about in the moment was, all right, Ink, get up every single day, put one foot in front of the other. Quitting is not an option. Stopping is not an option, right? And I had a brachial plexus of both. In my brachial plexus, subclavian artery, ruptured it from my chest. And when that happened, and I went through 2 major surgeries, but when I look back on it months out, I could see God's hand in the situation all along, right? When I first got to the University of Tennessee, my chaplain pulled me aside after our first scrimmage. And he said, can you meet me in my office tomorrow? I said, yeah. I came up to his office and he said to me, this is my freshman year. He said, I want to disciple you. And I said, what's that? Right? And I wasn't even playing yet, right? I was just a freshman. I said, what's that? He said, I want to walk with you spiritually. I want to help you.
Wow.
And I went to my roommates at the time, Gerard Mayo, Robert Ayers, Ramon Foster, all guys that went to the NFL. And I said, the chaplain wants to disciple us. I need some accountability. They said, cool, let's do it. And we were walking with them for 3 years prior to my injury. And when my injury happened, my spirit was already changing. My mindset was already changing. My thought process was already changing. And I firmly believe God prepared me in discipleship because he knew that injury was about to happen.
Amen to that. Discipleship, it's powerful. It definitely helps men holding each other accountable. You know, another thing that I've quoted you saying a couple of times when I've been able to share with the younger generation is, can I be committed to the process without being emotionally attached to the results? Man, I love that quote so much. What is that question really asking, and how can we as men be committed to the process?
I think that is so important, even with what we're facing right now in this quarantine, because what that's based upon, when I say, can we be committed to the process of what we're doing without being emotionally attached to the results? It's basically saying when you don't get what you want, when the outcome changes, when the situation is not what you thought it would be, can you still show up and be just as dedicated, just as committed, and just as focused? Like, we all know people that's going to show up and give everything they got when the situation fits them and they get what they want from it. But while you're in quarantine and this virus has hit the world, a lot of people's situation looks a lot different, right? Like, I was talking to some college athletes and they were saying, well, Ink, I don't have the training table. I can't get to the weight room. And I said, prior to being in that situation, you didn't have the training table and you didn't have the weight room. You had your work ethic, you had your drive, right? You had your desire, your determination, your commitment. And so understanding what you're working toward, but more so when the situation and the circumstances change, can you still get up and can you still be just as driven and just as committed to what you said that you wanted?
Inky, that is powerful right there. Man, your messages, it all seems like your motivation comes from one specific word, and that is the power of perspective. Help us understand, what is the word perspective even really meaning, and how powerful is it in our daily lives?
Zach, man, you're exactly right? You hit the nail on the head. I'm a big perspective guy, right? And partly because I firmly believe that perspective drives performance every day of the week. Like, I firmly believe how we view what we do affects how we do what we do, right? You can have the same situation and 2 people can look at it totally different. Right? You can have the same situation and one person can look at a piece of opposition and it can make them laugh, right? And another person can look at it and it can make them cry. It's nothing wrong with either person. It's just how they're processing the opposition and the adversity and the opposition and the adversity and the perspective that they've acquired when they encountered it. And so for me, my whole life, the thing that I've had was my perspective on my side. When I grew up in my situation, I looked at it for what it was, but I understood where I was trying to go. When I encountered my injury, I looked at it for what it was, but I knew what I wanted to get out of the situation and how I wanted to use the situation. When the doctor told me, Inky, you'll never be able to use your arm and your hand again, I replied to him and said, physically. And he said, what do you mean physically? I said, I would use this arm in this hand every day of my life by the way that I live my life, because I would never allow a situation and a circumstance to define my life. Now, was he right when he said I'll never be able to use it physically? Absolutely, because it's paralyzed. But on the flip side of that, with my perspective, what I represent, what I honor every single day with my faith and my trust in God, I will use this arm every single day as an instrument and as a vessel of inspiration.
Man, I absolutely love that. It's what drives you. Man, help us understand even more, though. What drives you on a daily basis today? What did you think of when you woke up today that drove you to come out and inspire other people?
You know, man, Zach, somebody said something to me when I was in the hospital in the year of 2006 when my injury happened. And that person was my coach that signed me up when I was in Little League. And he's my guy, man. Like, I love him. If he told me, Ink, come fight a bear for me, I'm gonna say, where you at, right? Like, this is my guy, right? And I'll never forget when I got injured, Zach, and after my first surgery, I was on the end of the bed. And this is when they were pretty much telling me my career was over. And I started crying. And I said to him, I apologize. I said, man, I'm sorry. And he said, what are you sorry for, Ink? I said, I can't make it to the NFL and I can't pay you back. And he responded and said something to me that resonated so well, but it helped me. He said, you think I did what I did for you so you can make it to an NFL? I said, yeah, I thought that was part of it. He said, man, bump the NFL. He said, I don't care nothing about the NFL. He said, I did what I did for you so you could become a decent man one day. He said, I just want you to be a decent husband if you have a wife. I just want you to be a decent father if you have some children. I just want you to go out into the world and pay forward in the lives of other children what I did for you. He said, you don't owe me a thing. I just want you to represent your family well. I just want you to add value to every environment you go into and every person's life that you come in contact with. And so every single day, I live to honor that, right? With my family, with my friends, with the people that I'm connected to. Every single day, I firmly believe every person we come in contact with plays a part in the legacy that we establish.
Man, that's powerful. And that right there, that's not living for the earthly rewards. That's living more so for the heavenly rewards. So more spiritually speaking here, Ink, how has the Lord intervened throughout your life and helped ultimately turn a moment of tragedy into what I would like to view as a triumphant life?
Man, like I smile and I laugh when you ask that question, because just thinking about my life and where I am, I know it's not by my might nor by my power, right? I know the Lord intervened, and because I never wanted to do what I'm doing, Zach. Like I never wanted to speak. I never thought that I would be a speaker traveling the world. I never thought anything of my story, right? And still, like I know I'm nothing special, right? I'm just like the next man, right? But what the Lord has done through me has been amazing, right? How he's impacted people's lives, how he's used my story, right, to touch people, just like what we were just speaking about a few moments ago, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic in the world, but also we're experiencing the other side of this with the cops and the racism and the rioting. And there's a cop in the middle of a protest, right? And he's referring back to my speech. Like, I know that's God, right? Without a doubt, right? And so even with my arm and my situation, like I could have lost my life that night. But for some reason, God saw fit that, no, it's not Ink's time yet. Ink still has some work to do. And so every day staying cognizant of that, but also using the gifts and the tools that I feel the Lord has blessed me with to do the best of my ability to put them out and use them as a source of encouragement, inspiration, and motivation to add value to the world.
Man, Inky, I love that. I love stories that move you, that motivate you, and that show the power of God. And man, you have a story and a last word here, a motivating word, pushing us forward as we have to face our everyday obstacles.
Absolutely, man. The thing that I would tell us, man, and this is a challenge to me as well, every single day, man, like this pandemic has hit, the coronavirus, and, you know, one day people were on top of the world and the next day they woke up and the world was on top of them, right? A lot of people's situation and circumstances look a lot different, right? Like I was speaking to a group of financial advisors and one of the guys said something to me, man, and it just tugged at my heart. He said, I'm still having to work and talk to people about finances. And he said, I've lost all of mine. He said, but every single day I got to try to inform and educate people. But because of the situation, my situation looks a lot different. And I said to him, if every single day we can wake up and find something to be grateful for and find somebody to be a blessing to, I think life will look a lot different, right? Because I think the quickest way to get through a storm or the quickest way to get through opposition and adversity is to shift your perspective and not just ignore your situation. I'm not telling you that. But when you shift your perspective, you think about how can I use what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through to help somebody else? Because the word says it. We're by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. We're overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimonies. That's why when you hear the story of another person, that's why when we can see God in somebody's life, it's so powerful and it gives us chill bumps. So every single day, find something to be grateful for and find somebody to be a blessing to.
Man, I love that. Find something to be grateful for, find someone to be a blessing to. Inky, dude, you're an inspiration to so many. You're an inspiration to me personally. I cannot thank you enough. Seriously, your story, man, and just your motivation in general is what got me through a lot of tough times in my life. So I just thank you for, like I said earlier on, standing back up when life tried to knock you down, man. You are a blessing, so thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, man. And I want to say just thank you for putting out your platform, man. I know this is going to be a blessing to a lot of people and add value to the lives of a lot of people, man. And so I thank God for you, brother.
I appreciate that. And I thank God for you as well.
Sir.
Hey, guys, just in closing from that powerful message from Inky Johnson, one of my favorite quotes that he even shared is how you view what you do will always affect how you do what you do. In our world today, it's your time to go find something to be grateful for and find someone to be a blessing to. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.